Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready.
It's a much-needed bye week for the Utes as they get set for the final stretch of the 25 season. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. Shortened show today as we get you ready for Jazz versus Celtics coming up at the bottom of the hour here. You're going to have Jazz pregame coming up here pretty darn quick. Get yourself a East Coast road swing this week. You got the Mammoth also on the road for some early games as well. So we'll keep you up to date with what the schedule looks like this week the rest of the way. JJ, let's get the show started off here this hour as we always do. It's the cut. Let's get to some BYU Texas Tech sound for this week. Let's do it right now.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Doug Smith brings you this portion of the program. An incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram, and now Mitsubishi. The Doug Smith family of dealerships found in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Nobody knows cars like Doug. All right, JJ. Kalani Sitake, I know it's a shock, but he likes Joey McGuire, respects him a lot. Probably close family friends with him if we're to know anything of how Kalani.
The next time somebody asks Kalani Sitake about a coach,
I hope
and
he
he
just
says,
goes,
I don't really know much about him, not really sure how I feel about that guy, then I'll be floored. Otherwise,
yeah, you know what's funny?
Like Kalani spends the entire offseason whining and dining opposing coaches, apparently going on cruises with them, getting to know their wives, their children, their extended family, their grandparents. He knows everything about all these coaches, and I'm really impressed.
Yeah, it's tough because this is an Adidas school. Normally, he's like, we meet at the Nike Symposium. No, I can't do that now.
So how does he sneak those visits in? Because you know he makes them.
Yeah, of course. And I will say, Joey McGuire is well-liked across the conference.
Well-respected.
Coaches like that guy a lot.
Yep.
And he's hard not to like, but here's what Kalani said about respecting his opponent this week.
Joey McGuire is a really good friend of mine. I've spent many meetings and dinners with him, hanging out and picking his brain, and he's a great builder of culture and character. And so I was really impressed with Texas Tech and their entire group, all their players that they brought to the media day this summer, and they carried themselves really respectful and carried themselves with a lot of confidence. And you can see a lot of that working through what they've done this season, what they've accomplished. So congratulations to them and their fans.
Texas Tech, obviously the class of the conference for much of the season so far. They take that loss against Arizona State a couple of weeks ago, and then suddenly everything changed, right? And now this Texas Tech and BYU game has gotten back to being a massive one, not just for BYU, but for Texas Tech, who cannot afford a second loss in conference play. Nobody wants to have a second loss in conference play, but you cannot. If you're going to get there, if you're going to get to Arlington, the easiest path is to make sure you stay in that one-loss kind of tier, because now it looks like, BYU's got to play Cincinnati, right? Everybody else is praying BYU can beat Cincinnati, because if BYU can beat Texas Tech, then everything is in front of them. Going down to Lubbock is something different, though. And you talk about things that they've done. And I would say the conversations I had this weekend with folks who were like, yeah, but they went into Iowa State. Look what they did there. I said, yeah, I do think Texas Tech is different. A 4-in-a-row loss, Iowa State team, by the way, is not the Texas Tech team. Texas Tech is back to being number 9 in the country, which wasn't there part of you that went, you did your job, AP poll voters. They wanted to have a big matchup between two top 10 teams, and they got it. I think honestly, Utah probably could have gone up to like 15 or 13. And because what did Texas end up jumping up to, by the way? What did Texas go up to?
I'll look it up real quick.
Because all the projections I saw, because again, when the game is played at 8:30 at night in Salt Lake, The write-ups that I saw the next day.
They moved up 7 spots from 20 to 13.
Yeah, and so many of them had it being 20 to 11, 20 to 10 in some of the projections I saw because they just can't wait. They bend over backwards to figure out how to put Texas higher up.
They beat Vanderbilt by 3 points, and they moved up 7
They
spots.
almost lost that freaking game.
After
having a 34-10 lead. Is that what it was?
What a stretch that was.
Anyway.
Oklahoma moved up 7 spots.
I know. I'm telling you. And what did Utah go up? 6?
7. And they basically swapped spots with Cincinnati, essentially.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They're a 2-loss team. They're a 2-loss team.
Yeah.
And that hurts because you can't but again, compared to some of the other 2-loss teams that are in front of them.
There's 4 of them.
Who are they?
Notre Dame. Oklahoma.
Okay.
Texas.
Yep.
And Vanderbilt.
So all SEC teams, you just told me.
Except for Notre Dame, of course.
Oh, Notre Dame, yes. Notre Dame is going to get that freebie pass into the offseason, right? So Texas Tech and BYU becomes an insane game because you're going to see, look, if a number 7 team or a number 8 team beats a number 9 team, or if a number 9 team beats a number 8 team, and they were both in the SEC, those teams go up a ton or they don't fall very far.
They probably both move up.
Yeah, they go, they have quality loss.
Oh, what a clash. What an unbelievable.
Yeah. So
9-7. What a great football game.
Think about the year that we've had here in the state of Utah for the teams that we cover.
It is phenomenal.
Big noon kickoff twice.
Yes.
Game day twice.
Once on the road, once at home.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, for the teams that are getting covered here.
That's a lot of exposure. A lot.
We've never seen anything like it. So if you're wondering how big of a deal it is that not just BYU and Utah are playing one another in a conference again, the fact that these two teams are competing at the level that they are brings attention that both that both programs need, but also the conference that they're in needs, right? It's a big deal. Texas Tech and BYU, and nobody thought BYU would be number 8 in the country at this point, right? Nobody did. People think Texas Tech was going to be here, though, right? We thought they were going to be here.
Yeah.
We knew they were going to be good. So a 1-loss Texas Tech team taking on a undefeated BYU team. This is where we're at on week 10 of the college football season.
To your point about how we've never been in this world before. And this one's hard to believe, and when I heard this, it floored me, but I thought about it as like, oh, this is true, because usually BYU was either the top-ranked team or they were the underdog playing the top-ranked team.
Yes.
This is the first time in BYU football history that they have played in a top 10 matchup.
That's pretty
meaning
crazy.
2 top 10 teams playing in the same game.
The only way that used to be able to
happen before.
The only way that used to be able to even be close to happening is when Utah and BYU were both having great years and they clashed at the very end of the season.
But when was that?
They had times where they're both ranked, but both
only
being
4
top 10
times ever
teams.
that they were both ranked in a matchup.
Right. And asking 2 Mountain West teams to be top 10 teams by the end of the season, that was a hard ask.
Never happened.
That was a hard ask. And now here we are. To see Texas Tech at number 9, BYU at number 8, knocking on the door to both of these teams to having special seasons. And both of these teams, their ticket doesn't get punched either way. But if BYU beats Texas Tech on the road, I think a lot of people look at that BYU team and go, okay, hold on a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Because then, who's the toughest matchup you have the rest of the way? TCU coming to Provo is still scary as hell if you're a BYU fan, by the way. You have flashbacks of TCU coming into Provo and ruining your life. It's happened before. All right? But then you go to Cincinnati, that feels a little bit more gettable. But again, if you can only afford to lose one game, but if you lose one game, you're in the conference championship game. But you have 4 games left, and 2 of them are against ranked opponents, and they're both on the road. And this is a tough test. Texas Tech is a tough team. You know why they're tough? Because they've always been a pretty darn good offensive team. Their defense is what shines out on this program, and this is what Kalani talked about with what makes Texas Tech really, really tough this week for them.
Well, they're opportunistic, and they can hurt you in such a short amount of time. So that's always dangerous. And then you could think it's going one way, and then they could just, next thing you know, in a matter of 3 to 5 minutes, they could really take over. So I like the matchup, man. I think it's going to be great for us. We see it on film. We've been seeing it for over a week already. We saw it all last week. We've been prepping for it, and it's easier said than done because a lot of teams will try to do that, and not very many teams can put them on their heels. So we're going to try to do something that nobody else has been able to do.
Okay. It's a tough matchup, but it's one you've been looking forward to all year long. It's kind of played out exactly how people were like, well, every test for BYU is going to keep getting tougher and tougher and tougher, and it has. Every week has been a more difficult test, right? Now you look back at Utah and the win at home, but again, people thought the Iowa State game was going to be because it was on the road. They had to play Iowa State on the road. They have to play Texas Tech on the road. They have to play Cincinnati on the road. This is a hard schedule, becoming one of the hardest that they've had to get through. And that's part of what makes the level of difficulty, and the style points can get really, really awesome for BYU if they can win on the road at Texas Tech 2 weeks after winning on the road at ranked Iowa State.
It would go a long way to earning respect in the college football playoff tier, especially from the committee if they're able to get this win. Now the question is, how does BYU do it? What is the anatomy of a BYU win over Texas Tech? Because we saw Texas Tech at Rice-Eccles Stadium up close and personal. We watched all those plays, and that team is phenomenal. Now they've taken some hits. They've lost some dudes to injury. That happens. But that is a phenomenal football team, a well-coached football team. So how do you beat Texas Tech? What did Utah not do that they could have done to make a difference in that game? What did Arizona State do that allowed them to hold on and win? And can BYU do that thing? Here's the thing. Can you throw the football downfield effectively? Sam Leavitt, 28 of 47 for 319 yards and a touchdown. 2 receivers, Jordan Tyson and Jaron Hamilton, over 100 yards. Tyson had 10 catches. Can Chase Roberts have a big game in the pass game? Can Bear Bachmeier throw down the field consistently, effectively, without turning the ball over?
Okay.
Because Sam Leavitt had 0 interceptions in that game.
So let me bring up the 2023 game. Very different, obviously. It's a very different roster.
Sure.
Right. However, and you remember Jake.
Similar scheme though.
Yeah. Jake Strong came in. He was the quarterback for him, and I think he was filling in for an injured Baron Morton, I think maybe a younger Baron Morton. But regardless, do you remember what the turnover margin was in that game? BYU won 27-14. That's their first win in Big 12 history.
4-0?
5-0.
5-0, okay.
3 picks, 2 fumbles.
Right. For
Texas Tech to BYU's 0 turnovers, which is rare for that year because Keaton Slovis loved himself an interception, right?
Yeah.
So, and BYU had 270 yards of total offense that game, by the way.
Short
270 yards. But Texas Tech turned the ball over 5 times and BYU 0 times. Both of these teams are very different. Now, I'm not going to say that you draw the parallel, but the coaches will all say, you win the turnover battle, you're going to win the football game more than likely. This is a must for BYU. Just be +1 against Texas Tech is going to be huge for you. You've got to force a turnover more than they do. And that is, to me, what's going to happen in this game. By the way, if you're wondering about who's going to be playing in this one, because I think everyone in Cougar Nation is looking around going, LJ Martin, ? Here's what Kalani said about LJ and Jack Kelly and their status for this week.
Yeah, they're doing great. I mean, we'll see how they progress during practice this week. So they're not out, they're practicing, and we'll see by the time Wednesday, hopefully it works in our favor. But the fact that they're not out is a good sign.
Hey, that is a good sign.
That is positive. They got to have those guys, and they have to have impact.
They're both, respectively, you tell me if I think LJ Martin still is the best player on that offense.
In my opinion, they're both first-team all-conference performers so far this year.
They're the most important. Now, Bear Bachmeier is obviously the most important he touches the ball every play. But LJ Martin
he's the best running back in the Big 12.
Right. And if he's playing and if Jack Kelly are playing, two of your best players on either side of the ball are in the game, and that's a big deal. I can't see Jack Kelly not playing. I could see L.J. Martin being questionable all the way up till game time and still not being 100%, and that's a blow. That's a blow. But I think Texas Tech is looked at, and the chink in the armor, of course, against Arizona State this year makes you look and go, hold on a minute. They're gettable. But they learned some lessons in that game that I think that are going to be huge. If they were both undefeated going into this game, I think it's a different Texas Tech. But I think that this Texas Tech team is actually going to be tougher because they know there is no margin for error. Their goal is to get to that Big 12 championship game and to win that thing. And if you get your second loss and you have 3 games left in the season, that's a tough deal to ask your team to win out when everybody's got that target on your back. All right, Kenny J's Barbecue. Make this Thanksgiving unforgettable with Kenny J's Barbecue. Skip the stress and bring home slow smoked perfection. Pre-order your Thanksgiving meal today. Just text 801-230-5396. That's 801-230-5396. Utah Jazz and the Boston Celtics coming up right now. Your pregame. Jake Scott, Tim Lacombe coming right at you. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.